Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode. This one is long overdue. I'm sorry for the wait. It's been a very long time. I think probably about 2 months, maybe even more, since the last episode, and I apologize for that. I'll get into why later on in the video. You'll kind of understand why it's been so long. But last episode, we got the copper foiling down, and we were going to start the wiring. So, without further ado, let's get right to it and wire this thing up. Okay, so starting up here, I'm just installing the ground wires on all the pots. And again, this is my first time ever pretty much starting a guitar from scratch as far as wiring is concerned. I've done like pickup replacements in the past, and those are really easy, but this was the first time I'd ever had to, build from the ground up. So here I'm basically creating my ground between all the pots. So basically just putting them on top, and if you are someone that's good at this stuff, you're probably cringing really hard watching this because I am, again, horrible at this. So there's huge globs of solder all over the place. So this actually ended up taking a lot of time, and it was kind of not ideal, my setup. I kind of just had it on my kitchen countertop. So here I'm feeding in the neck pickup with its wires. There's 4 wires from each pickup. So I just kind of taped off the neck pickup wires there. So right here, this is the wireless battery pack. So essentially, well, I shouldn't say wireless. It is wired, but it's a rechargeable battery pack from Fishman, which is the same company as the pickups. So this pretty much eliminates the need of having a 9-volt battery and having to carry around an extra. And so basically, it just comes with a micro USB cable. I plug it in, and that charges and keeps the batteries charged and supplies power to the pickups, which are active. So that battery has 3 wires. One connects to one of the rings on the output jack. One is a ground wire and one's a lead wire. And that lead wire is the red one. And I had to put that in a heat shrink and then connect it with the lead wire of a different cable. Forget which one. But there's the wire that goes to the output jack from the battery cable or the battery pack. And so again, now I think here I'm putting the lead wires, which has a ground in it as well from the neck pickup. And so it starts to get messy really quick. You can tell that there's wires all over the place. There's a 3-way switch that needs the voicing wires, which are those blue and yellow, green, orange wires you kind of see off to the top right. So those had to go into the mini switch. And so here's the 3-way switch. And the cavity was kind of off-centered, and so it was really hard to get the 3-way switch to sit in the cavity properly. And so basically the neck and the bridge lead wires connect to this for outputting from the pot, and then there's a ground wire, and then there's one master wire that goes from the output jack to the 3-way switch. And so back here I'm just kind of finishing off my connections. So there's the battery pack that I'm kind of trying to get in position. And so now I'm just hooking everything up to the output jack. And that is pretty much it. After all that wiring, 4 hours of wiring, I plugged the guitar in. It didn't work. So it was very frustrating. So what happened was, it was my first time ever wiring a guitar. And I didn't choose a very easy way of doing it. In fact, it was a very complicated wiring scheme. So what I did is I took it to Long McQuaid, which is the music retailer that's really close to me. And if you are in the Langley area, 100% recommend going to that place. That place is amazing. I go there all the time. But that aside, Jeff Caines is one of the guitar luthiers there. And I took it to him, or the guitar techs, I should say. I took it to him, and basically he redid the entire wiring for me. So all that 4 hours, in theory, was kind of a waste, but at the end of the day, I learned a lot doing it. My actual scheme was not wrong. In fact, I had the right idea. The only thing was my joints were very poor. I had globs of solder all over the place. It was super messy. I had hot wires touching ground wires, which caused shorts. The copper foil tape was actually touching some of the solder in certain areas, which also caused shorting. It was grounding out. The worst suspect was the 3-way switch, which, if you saw in the montage there, it was literally pressed right up against the side of the cavity, which was a short. So Jeff flipped it around and moved the wiring around. So the switch still works the same. It's just now there's space on that one side. So it took about 3 weeks for him to get to that because he's very busy, right? So, and it wasn't a very easy wiring scheme to fix. But anyways, I had him do that. And it's been about a month and a half or about 7 weeks since that last thing you just saw. I'm gonna be brutally honest, I kind of lost a little bit of motivation to make this video because I was so bummed out about that wiring thing happening. And plus I had a whole bunch of other stuff happen in my personal life and just got really busy. And so I just didn't have the time or the motivation. So it's been about 7 weeks, but nonetheless, I'm excited to show you because the guitar now is finally done. So now I'll show you what it looks like. Here she is, all done. And so I'll kind of quickly guide you through basically what I did with this. So obviously it has, just from looking at it, a tremolo system. So this here is something called a Stets bar. So normally a regular trem requires a cavity to be drilled on the backside. This eliminates that entirely. It's just literally a trem that mounts on top and then you can use it as a regular floating bridge. It wasn't cheap. It cost me about $400 Canadian. And overall, it's okay. It does have a bit of tuning stability issues. It does kind of go out of tune pretty easy, which is annoying. I'm thinking maybe it's the nut that maybe has too much friction in it that's causing that, but I'll look into it eventually. But this is called the Stets bar, and these are really, really cool. And so there's a lot of adjustments you can do. So if a string breaks, all the other strings don't go out of tune, you can do that adjustment with these screws. So the pickups, these are the Fishman Fluence Devon Townsend signature pickups. These things are amazing. So this three-way switch here controls the voicing. So these are like active and passive pickups. They have those two voicings, plus the third voicing, which is a passive sound with a coil split. And so I can control all those. So this is in humbucking mode. This is now in, I believe it's regular passive. And now this is coil split. So you get 3 different voicing. And then now I have the regular knobs, like a Les Paul, 2 volumes, 2 tones. So I ended up switching these stickers. You might notice it's a lot glossier. I ended up switching the neck illusions from matted to glossy, and I think they look a lot better. They kind of match the overall shininess and hue of the guitar. So that, and they look more like a real fretboard, like an oiled fretboard, right? It has a bit of shine to it. And so yeah, there's my truss rod cover. That's a kanji symbol for power. And then there's the tar, and if you're wondering what that middle logo is from, that's from my favorite, one of my favorite all-time shows, Full Metal Alchemist. Wonderful, wonderful show. And that symbol is, it's a cool looking symbol and it matches a shape of the headstock, right? And so these are not Grover, these are Graphtec ratio locking tuners. So they're locking tuners and they are ratio, which means that every single tuning machine is tailor-made for each string. So for example, like on a normal guitar, you're gonna be moving this maybe a quarter turn, the low E string will jump up a whole semitone. In the meantime, the high E string, you're spinning forever and it just won't budge. So this fixes that. Each and every individual string is the exact same amount of winds, so which is really nice. Graphtec nut, and I really screwed up with the filing. So I filed the A string too low. It'll be kind of hard to tell on camera, but basically this string here sits way too low. Luckily, it's not causing any issues. I'm not getting any buzzing or fretting out. So it plays normally, but it sits way lower than all the other strings. And so I screwed that up, unfortunately. But overall, I'm really happy with how this thing turned out. I put those pearloid backplate covers. You'll probably notice that some of the grain is starting to show on the back, and that's just because the tongue oil, I think, might be starting to wear out. I normally don't play with a shirt on, and so I think my sweat is just not liking the back of this thing. But that might be it. But there's the output jack, and then the strap locks, which are by Schaller. These are great. They're not going to go anywhere until you pull the pin, and then you can remove them. But other than that, once they're on. They're not going anywhere. So these are really cool, and they just drill in. And the strap that I got was a purple one to match the rest of the guitar. So there she is. The guitar is finally done. And if you're wondering what the tar is, it's a nickname of mine. It's a long story how I got that nickname, but it's a story for a different day. But here's the finished product of the guitar. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Apologies for this episode taking so long. Again, I'll be honest, I lost a lot of motivation to kind of continue with the videos because I realized it's a lot of work, a lot of time that goes into making one of these stupid things. But overall, it's been a pretty fun experience. So next episode, I'm going to take this to Long McQuaid and I'm going to have some of the guys down there try it out and we'll get a full tone test and I'll show you guys exactly how this thing sounds and what it's capable of. So I'll see you guys then.